Yan, first meta morning natin. Meron tayong meeting kaya bilisan ko to within the next 15 to 20 minutes. Let me just give some updates dito sa development sa ating politika. I think it is increasingly probable, no, na Sara Duterte will actually run for the highest office in the land, for the presidency, hindi for the vice presidency. You know, as they say, you know, if you can go for the gold, why settle for the silver, right? And in this case, sabi ko nga, unang-una, this is going to be the first talking point. The vice presidency didn't seem to be yung pinaka-enticing prospect para kay Sara Duterte. Unang-una, yung numbers niya in the surveys have not been very good dun sa vice presidency. In fact, she was always more competitive dun sa presidential race kaysa sa vice presidential race, no? So that's one thing. The second thing is that Tito Soto, the Eat Bulaga factor, cannot be taken out of consideration. Malakas talaga yung hatak ni Tito Soto. Nakita natin na by 11 points na tinatalo si Tatay Digong. So it's not like Sara is gonna necessarily do better than her father, considering that she's in many ways banking actually on her father's name and momentum and popularity, or whatever left of it. And pangatlo, of course, pagdating sa issue ng vice presidency, sabi nga ni Cayetano, spare tire yun. So, I'm not sure the vice presidency will give the kind of powers, prestige, and privileges that will make a national run, I think the first for Sara Duterte, quite worth it. Remember, Sara Duterte, as far as I remember, wala siyang any relevant position in the national level. No? So this will be really her first. When I say relevant national level, I'm talking about not political role per se, but elected office. No, she never served as a senator or cabinet member or anything like that. So this is going to be her real unang sabak niya talaga ito sa national politics. So it's going to be a tricky situation, uncharted territory for her. No, and let's see how she's going to perform in debates, among other things. So in short, the vice presidency was not the most enticing prospect, and hindi rin siya sure win. No. So, why not contest for the highest office? Because base dun sa mga surveys na nakita natin, she has been way stronger as a presidential candidate, and she could still maintain a lead. Although, should Sara Duterte join the race, she's gonna throw the whole game wide open. I don't think maging clear front runner si Sara Duterte. We saw the momentum was already shifting against Sara Duterte in the third quarter of this year. 7-8 points yung decline niya. No, and with margin of error, that could be almost double-digit decline. Bong MARCOS was picking a little bit. I don't think suddenly Bong MARCOS numbers will collapse just because Sara Duterte might run for the presidency. So actually, both Bong and Sara could be almost equally strong. You know, if we look at some of the trend lines, maybe they're meeting somewhere in the middle and statistically tied sila. And this brings me to the second level of analysis. Now, we don't know who's going to be the vice presidential candidate of Sara Duterte. The meeting between Manny Pacquiao and President Duterte the other night is quite interesting because Manny Pacquiao was positioning himself as a kind of a crusade candidate going against corruption. Medyo yung tough yung statements niya laban sa issue ng Farmali, yung allegations ng corruption sa gobyerno, among other things. For a while, Lenny Robredo was considering even Pacquiao as a potential standard bearer for the opposition. I think at some point, even when Sambayan was kind of becoming open to it, more open to this than before, Lenny Robredo at least at once said that she's open to back a Pacquiao-Isko Moreno team up. I know for a fact that there were such negotiations, and one reason it didn't work was because Pacquiao wanted to go stronger on the opposition register, while yung cadence, yung political electoral cadence na gusto ni Isko was more from the center, kind of a healing president position. No, so now suddenly Pacquiao is having this kind of conversations with the president, and we can just guess what kind of issues could be on the table. Now, for sure, the numbers are very clear. Manny Pacquiao is splitting the Mindanao vote, and in fact, his Mindanao numbers increased and expanded in some of the surveys we have seen from second quarter to third quarter. So clearly, the solid South, hindi ganun ka-solid sa mga Dutertes because there's a Pacquiao element. Now, there have been some reports and indications that Pacquiao may reconsider his presidential run for the vice presidency. So that opens the space for a potential vice presidential tandem on behalf, on the part of Pacquiao with Sara Duterte. But that will be very, very strange. Maybe the calculation, I'm absolutely not sure that's going to be the case. But the fact that there was this meeting means that perhaps there has been some sort of opening to have certain discussions about some potential tandem. Because if Sara Duterte runs for the presidency, I'm not sure Bongbong Marcos will be very happy with that, and then I'm not sure Bongbong Marcos will immediately jump and say, okay, I'll be the vice president. Because the same reasons na hindi enticing yung vice presidential race for Sara Duterte, I would say there are even more reasons for Bongbong Marcos not to go for the vice presidency. Unang-una, this runs against their position that they actually won the vice presidential race in the last elections, although I think 3 rulings at least by the Supreme Court suggest otherwise. Kung saan lumaki pa yung lead ni duly elected Vice President Leni Robredo. But so on one hand, they're undermining their own case as a supposed victim of shenanigans in 2016. Number 2, Bongbong Marcos actually is 63, 64? So if he's going to be vice president now and wait another 6 years, he's going to be almost 70 by the next electoral cycle? And, Sara is in her 40s. So, and as far as Bongbong is concerned, he already served as a senator, as a congressman, a governor, if I'm not mistaken. So he kind of ticked all the boxes, no? And he almost just lost. He just lost by a razor-thin margin in vice president. So for him to run again as vice presidency, I'm not sure that's very enticing for the Bongbong Marcos camp. And what would convince Bongbong Marcos to suddenly change tack? So I'm not sure there's going to be a nice way of asking him to step down. Not to mention there's the element of Imelda Marcos. I don't think the forever first lady is willing to wait another 6 years. What is she, 92? So I think for the Marcoses, they want to get back to Malacanang as soon as they can. And if you're in the Marcos camp, these are really tough times, because Marcos was should Sara not run, Marcos is the lead candidate, the candidate to beat. If Sara runs, that completely changes the equation. Doesn't make Sara the front runner, but it also eliminates Bongbong Marcos as a clear front runner. And this is the scenario we can look at. I don't know what Pacquiao's positioning will be, but you see, Bongbong Marcos is strong in Ilocos given na yung solid north, but he's also very strong in NCR and Balanced Luzon. Hindi malakas si Sara dito sa NCR Balanced Luzon. I don't see that significantly changing, considering that President Duterte's numbers are also on the decline, especially dito sa NCR and Balanced Luzon region, right? The reason why Sara has been doing quite well in the surveys, one big reason is because she was getting huge numbers of support in Mindanao. But there's the Pacquiao element there. Perhaps if they can take out Pacquiao from the equation, then Sara can get even larger share of Mindanao. Then that can push up her numbers and kind of make up for some of the lost momentum in the third quarter. So that brings the fight really to Visayas, right? Because if Marcos is going to be strong in NCR and Balanced Luzon, it's going to make it hard for Sara to make gains there also in the Ilocos region. Then also in Mindanao, mahirapan si Marcos, who was already not very strong in Mindanao. So that brings the fight to Visayas region. Right, don't worry, I'm going to talk about the opposition. I'm just talking about these 2 administration candidates for now. So Marcos can position himself, because my sense is if Sara runs for the presidency, Gwen Garcia, not Gwen Garcia, Governor Gwen Garcia of Cebu is going to push for Sara, right? And so the one Cebu can deliver some significant numbers. And remember, we go back to the roots of the Dutertes, Danao and all of that. They come from that region, right? That part of Visayas. So Sara may count on some huge numbers also in Cebu area, plus Mindanao, especially if Pacquiao steps out. So that puts Sara in quite a strong position there. But Bongbong Marcos, well, they have the Romualdez side. So on the other side of Visayas, he could also make some gains. So you'll have quite an interesting situation whereby I think both can be almost equally competitive. And this is where it gets very tricky. If Bongbong does not slide down or does not step out, right? And in fact, there is no guarantee that if Bongbong Marcos steps down, and this will bring me to the third topic I want to discuss, that the numbers he has in Ilocos, but especially in NCR and Balanced Luzon, will go to Sara. SARA, nakita natin dun sa Pulse Asia survey in quarter number 3, was not the strongest candidate as a second preference candidate. So I'm not sure Bong not running will also necessarily push those numbers in the north towards SARA. There are many reasons why SARA is not doing well in the north. We can talk about that forever, but you can guess what are these issues. But generally, Balanced Luzon and NCR tend to vote anti-incumbency every 6 years, no? And it's not like Tatay Digong has been really a stellar beacon of governance in the past, especially a year or so, but some would argue even past 5 years or so. So this is where things get tricky, which brings me to the third point that I have to discuss. Now, the other night, there was a discussion. I think this was by Rappler John Neri, former colleague of mine sa Encore. He's now in Rappler. They interviewed, yung mga magre-react sa Rappler, they interviewed Tito Soto, right? The strong candidate doon sa vice presidency. And Tito Soto, I think, discussed something like, I have to double check that. Sorry, medyo puyat ako in all of that. Kaya tignan niyo yung mga post ko, 3 a.m., 7 a.m., nagpo-post kasi nag-work ako throughout the night. I just had to do some power naps late in the night, then get back to work. Dire-diretso na yan. Well, I'm going back to this issue. Tito Soto, I think, was saying something like, I have to double check that, no? Just to get the quotes right. But something like, parang ang point is for the opposition to just run. All of them run. But whoever gets the best numbers in the survey, yun ang behind that person mag-consolidate, no? Which makes things interesting now. Because if SARA runs for the president, and Bongbong Marcos stays in the race, or even if he slides down, that actually can benefit some opposition candidates a lot, no? Assuming how you're gonna count opposition candidates, no? But this is where Isko can actually make some gains. Doon nakita natin dun sa survey ng Pulse Asia's second highest preference. Actually, Isko is almost statistically tied with Bongbong Marcos. And Isko is already first or second strongest sa Balanced Luzon and NCR. So my sense is if Bongbong Marcos steps out of the race for the presidency or steps down to the vice presidency, actually Isko could be in a very strong position, right? To pick up some points, no? So that could put Isko in quite a good position to be like the second or third in this race. And there are actually also a lot of people who are on the side of Bongbong Marcos who are quite comfortable with Isko. I can understand the criticism that could be levied against Isko for that, who may not necessarily be comfortable with Lenny. Now, I'm not sure how Marcos stepping out will benefit Lenny. I think Lenny could benefit if both Bongbong Marcos and SARA run, because that just blows the whole race way open, right? So it gives chance for everyone, no? But should Bongbong Marcos actually step out or step down, I think that could actually not serve the interest of Lenny, because a part of me thinks that, and I'm basing this on 2016 and at least some of the online trends we're seeing, mukhang Bongbong being there actually is good for Lenny because it allows for Lenny to juxtapose herself against the Marcoses. And I think that has been her strongest, most authentically passionate, enthusiastic streak. And it also appeals very much to the solid Lenny base. No? Although parang hindi ko na-gets itong solid na sinasabi, napaka-paiba-iba nga ng plan ng iba dyan Parang napaka-fluid if not gassy. Right? Parang mali yung gassy. Ethereal. Yan ang gamitin natin term. Ayan na, bagbabalahuran na ako, hindi na ako seryoso mode, no? But you get my point here, no? That actually, SARA potentially rejoining the presidential race, it's just not going to make her necessarily the front runner. It's just going to cancel out Bongbong Marcos as the front runner. But if Bongbong Marcos stays, I think this benefits Lenny more. If Bongbong Marcos steps down, I think this benefits Isko more. Alright? I think that's where I'm going to keep my analysis for now. Alright, so let's just have some back and forth here, interaction here. I like that. Okay. Let's have some back and forth here before I leave. Sabi ko, I'm just going to keep this really short because I have to leave for a meeting. Kamusta Joel from California? Anong oras ba dyan? 4 p.m.? 7 p.m., right? 7 p.m., yeah. I suppose, no? Kamusta ang mga friends natin dyan? Oy, Pat, wag mo naman i-troll yung mga hindi naman, kahit tayo, mabait tayo. Wag mo na naman. Kawawa yung isa kung tatakbo si SARA, di ba? Run, SARA, run. Paano naman yung iba? Mamaya guys, mag-post tayo ng meta survey na bago. Alam na natin anong lalagay natin dyan sa bagong meta survey para makita natin ang mga reaction ng mga meta. Yes! Tingnan natin, masaya yan. GL from Sydney. Anong oras dyan? 1 p.m.? Kamusta naman kayo dyan? Hero, wag kang trollish. I'm not sure kung lalat si Lenny. Let's see. Ito na naman nice suit where you got from it. Ito, sale lang bili ko. Hindi ito yung mga Italian suits ko. Watching from Canada, very cold. Dapat actually andun ako ngayon for Halifax Security Forum. Kaso ang hirap yung mga, pagbalik ko may mga, quarantine ganun. Pagod na ako nung isang month, 14 days ako sa quarantine. Ayoko na. Tapos ang daming swab test, ganun. Ayoko na. Kaya di na ako pumunta dyan sa Canada. But hopefully balik tayo dyan, right? Yan. No, if BBM steps out, Jovio, no, Lenny will stay. I'm just saying na sense ko lang, BBM staying there is better for Lenny. If BBM steps out, I think it's better for Isko, based on some of the numbers we're seeing. Yeah, it's good for Isko. Isko can position himself as a counterpoint to SARA, and it will be kind of a battle of mayors. Yeah, as we discussed earlier. Kamusta mga friends natin dyan from Winnipeg? Is that the right pronunciation? Alam ko, yung bear na naging inspiration for Winnie the Pooh, my favorite. Actually, it was a Winnipeg. How do you pronounce it? Sorry. Bear. Yun ang nakita ko sa biography. Anyways, let's not go there. So, mga 7-hour glitch and smart Hindi nga smart magic ngayon, di ba? Di ba ngayon meron tayong bagong logistics help provider sa elections natin? Yeah. From Orlando, Florida. Yeah, the land of the Trumps. Totoo ba yan, Roger? Land of the Trumps bang Florida ngayon? Florida. Actually, yung lolo ko, my late lolo Rodrigo, he was based in Florida for quite some time. So, yeah. From Baguio, mga kapsat. Kamusta kayo dyan? Good morning, mga kapsat. Watching from Laguna, Glady. Yan. Wala kayong tanong dyan bago tayo alis dyan? Oh, wala eh. Oh, sige. Alis na ako. Mag-update ulit tayo. Especially by Monday, God willing. Hopefully, we're gonna have some better ideas about it. But yun nga, just to wrap up what I was saying, if Bong steps out, I think it serves Isko, and of course, SARA to a certain degree, but I think Isko is there to pick up a lot of numbers based on sa second preference numbers, right? And if Marcos steps out, not very good for Lenny. If Marcos stays, I think Lenny is going to benefit from that. So I'm just looking at some of the dynamics we're looking at here, especially with Pacquiao also potentially not continuing this race. I'm absolutely not sure about that, but I'm just saying, things could look very different in the coming weeks. But as the French say, the more things change, the more they're the same, but something like that, yeah. Kind of like that, yeah. In that sense. So yun, first ever Meta Morning Alive natin, or Morning Meta Alive natin. So, not bad. Mukhang may mga gising pa naman dyan, right? We're trying different time zones. So, na-try natin ang 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 2 p.m., Itbulaga time, I think 1-ish. Now, we're trying at around 10 to 11 a.m. So, let's try different versions. Especially later on, pag elections, God willing, we can do more live and right-away analysis, spontaneous analysis dito sa mga developments na nangyari, no? Alright, maraming salamat. Anong tanong? If I were a junior of some former president dictator, will I run? You know, kung ikaw ay junior ng isang president, that means marami kang advantages sa buhay, right? That many doors are open to you, many windows or many more things are open to you. So you want to make sure once you have those advantages, you end up being smart, well-trained, get the best education you can get, and not be a bum, right? Para hindi ka lang umaasa dun sa pangalan ng parents mo or something like that, right? And just because you come from a rich family or from a presidential background doesn't mean that you can just bum around, right? Actually, sometimes we have history where, look at Justin Trudeau. I think the father of Justin Trudeau was also prime minister, right? So we have cases whereby the parents were smart, the kids were even smarter or just as smart. I may have some issues with the Arroyo administration, but Madame Arroyo is quite smart. her father was also smart, and both of them were economist trained, so hindi siya bum, right? Yeah, I'm not gonna say more. Oh, Denver, troll-troll ka na naman dyan, umayos tayo dyan. Yun nga grabe definitely BBM is not gonna be happy if tatakbo si SARA. And the fact na hindi clear yung plan ni SARA ngayon, I'm not sure the Marcos side are very happy about this situation. So hindi ko alam yung pinost nilang picture na Aimee and SARA together. What does that even mean? Like, Aimee is gonna be the VP? Or like, what does that even mean? Is that even from now, or is it from the other year? I mean, it's like, doesn't mean anything, right? The fact that we see a lot of folks from Davao, right, are pushing for SARA for president, right? Go for gold. Why settle for an uncertain silver when you can go for gold and even be more competitive? All right, maraming salamat. Thanks to our friends from Canada, Calgary, Winnipeg, friends from California, from Laguna, from Philippines, from Quezon City. Right, yon. At saka mga supporters of all candidates, thank you very much. Let's keep it there. Get back to you soon. God bless.